on the record. There we go. All right. Hello and welcome to the 1776 Syndicate. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you for all the members. We just came off of school board elections since our last call, and it's been a hot and heavy week. There's been a number of articles written about the school board elections and what's happened. I think the overarching message is that the Conservative Party came out in strength. We had a lot of parents involved or wanting to be involved. And I don't want to say we lost heavily, but we turned about maybe 10 to 15% of all the seats statewide, which is more than we've ever given in the past. But if you saw any of the articles, the unions put out about $90,000 statewide to get their people elected. So we've got to keep the momentum going. Don't lose focus and excitement for running for these offices. So if you're one of the 41 members of 76 that are running for school board, whether you lost or won, please keep going. Don't give up. As some of you know, I received a call the morning after elections from our state superintendent, Elsie Arnson, and she's just enthusiastic that people are willing to give their time and energies. And she actually wants to be on one of these calls to thank everybody and generate a game plan going into 2023. So that being said, 1776, keep your computers on mute until you're called on during the Q&A. We're recording the call, so you don't have to. If you're asking questions or if you're involved, please maintain a level of professionalism. If not, I'll just cut you off and send you home and not invite you back. So no poor conduct. And then finally, just as a reminder, we're here to add value to people running for elections, right? And that value comes in a variety of ways. That's through our network, the elected officials that we've had on the show, the ones that have spoken and given you their insights, other members, and the value that they bring based on their role in society or their elected positions or their past elected positions. And I would encourage everybody to interact with members here and utilize the value that we're bringing. So today I've invited Sam Robino to be on the line because Sam brings a great perspective on some of those tools that he offers, especially as we're running into the primaries here in the next 30 days or less than 30 days. We're all looking at our war chests and what we have to add value to our campaign. As I was just speaking to Dave about before we started recording, it's time to work our tails off because you're not going to be in the generals if you don't win a primary, if you've got that going right now. So Sam's going to bring an interesting perspective. Sam, thank you for being on the call. And if you don't mind, if you can give us some background on where you've been, what you did for the Trump administration here in Montana, some of the roles you've played, and what you're doing now, that would be wonderful. You'll do yourself more justice than I could with your bio and stuff. And then we'll jump into some of the things you offer, like text campaigning and things like that. So Sam, thank you again for being on the call.
Yeah, appreciate it. So my background is in what we call grassroots politics. Most of the people on this call are going to be in grassroots politics, whether you were running for school board or you're running for state rep. We're not running $100 million campaigns. We're not running national campaigns. We're running stuff that's very locally driven. The way I describe my company, which I will shamelessly plug here, Field and Streets Political Strategy, is national strategy, locally focused. We can learn a lot from things like presidential campaigns, the RNC data operation, the RNC turnout operation, and those investments that are made in states across this country that benefit Republicans up and down the ballot. But we can really take it to the local level. And we can bring it to targeting the right voters at the right time to make sure that you're getting your message out. Nothing I can do for you will ever be a silver bullet. I'm usually pretty straightforward about that. I just was waiting to start here, and I was listening to the conversation back and forth about one of the candidates waving signs. It's a great example of getting out and working hard and making sure the voters know your message. The cheapest way, the most effective way for a voter to know your message is you getting out there and knocking on their door, waving a sign in their face, or even calling them personally. But you can't do. You can only do so much of that. I understand that. Believe me, I've knocked hundreds of thousands of doors in my day for candidates up and down this ballot. Never actually for myself, but and I have huge immense respect for people who do it for themselves, and that's why I want to help get you elected. With that said, there are a lot of resources, especially in the state of Montana. I know there's some other people from other states around as well, and based on Jim, our conversations, those states have also had this same opportunity. I can tell you whether it's Colorado or California, the Republican National Committee has spent billions of dollars on their data operation from 2012 when the famous Orca failure in Ohio for Romney's turnout operation happened to today, where we actually kicked the Democrats' butt in 90% of the states in this country. Every single person that's running as a Republican candidate or signs the Republican pledge with their data sharing agreement with their state parties. If you're running a nonpartisan race, like a school board race, or in some states, county commissioners and that kind of stuff are nonpartisan, you have the ability to sign up to use RNC data. You have to use it responsibly. You have to be effective with it. But using that data, we're able to create really great universes for effective pricing that we haven't been able to create in the past. I happen to be doing a lot of it right now, which is kind of a newer technology. It really took off, call it 2018, started to take off 2020. Turnout texting really took off to what it is today, and what we're able to do with it today in our cell phone universes that we have from modeling and consumer data, as well as just people's voter reg. I'm one of the people who puts my cell phone on there just because I don't really have any other phones, but we can micro target down to a level, especially if one, you've been out there doing the work and you have hard IDs. We have past IDs from everything up and down the ballot, but specifically Donald Trump IDs. We have IDs based on Supreme Court ideologies, all that kind of stuff that we can take and create these universes where we like to call them, we have our in the bank voters, we have our turnout voters, we have all sorts of different ways to use them, to leverage them, to make sure that we're turning the right people out and our time and our money is being spent most effectively. I think where a lot of people go wrong is if they've read the books, they've read the message boards, everything else about, oh, like the data's not good because it says my neighbor is X, Y, or Z. The reality to that is when you just look at someone's like voter score in the corner of a screen, it doesn't tell you the whole story. Like that, almost none of that in the corner of the screen is what actually goes into how they end up in our universes, and why they're developed that way. Being a localized candidate and being able to use that national strategy of like, we are going to target X voters, X day, and then hit them with a push message, or if you're a little bit more well-funded, you can hit them with a digital ad that's only showing in their neighborhood that talks about, hey, I was just in your neighborhood today, or I was just on your street today. And to building your mail universes so you know who's supposed to be voting for you based on the work that you've done at the door, on the phones, texting with a response. In some cases, you can do a lot of good ID work with a texting with a response. And then the people who are wishy-washy on you or say they're undecided on where they're going to vote, those are the people that you're going to spend even more time and energy on. And by developing your universes with the resources that are given to you, essentially, you're able to create the most cost-effective campaign there is. I know in a state like Montana, most state rep campaigns are lucky to raise $12,000. The limits are extremely low. And the money's just not there for state rep races. I mean, some of them get a little expensive, but I mean, expensive in Montana is 25 grand, where it's a little different if you go into states like California or Colorado, where they're 50, 75, $100,000 state rep races where you have a little bit more expansion. But especially in those smaller races with very finite resources, using digital messaging, specifically texting, and Facebook ads to a lot of extent, can really change the course of your campaign and where you stand with voters and how many of them actually know your name. And it can do things like build off that sign waving, build off that door knocking to ID voters, build off the response texting and all of those things. That's critically important to building out a real campaign. I think some of this stuff becomes very daunting, and people like me, and I'll be the first to tell you, I've had this issue with candidates. They look at a guy like me and they're like, "You're just trying to make money off of me. You're trying to do whatever." Yes, I am in the political business. I don't hide it. I sell products, and I try and make those products most effective for you. But also, I have a really great kind of background, not to toot my own horn here, but I have worked all over the country. I started knocking doors in 2010 when during the Tea Party Revolution. Gave up part of my senior year in college to work on a campaign. Have run races in New Hampshire, done stuff from New Hampshire to Florida, a lot up in Montana, Colorado, kind of all across the country. And all of them, I see the same mistakes out of all of them. They don't leverage the resources in a proper way that can really make their campaigns cost effective and like moving voters effective as well. Sorry for not using great terms, but I think that's what I can bring to the table, not just to pitch my own business, but that's what I can bring to the table for almost every person on this call, is the ability to show you how to leverage those resources in a way that makes a huge difference in actually moving voters, not the feel good of putting a yard sign in. Look, I know it's great to see it in your neighbor's yard. Maybe your face is on it, or handing out a palm card at the local grocery store, but actually getting down and dirty with voters that we know are open to voting for us. And if we convince them, they're going to go to the polls. That's the other big side of this. That's where universes and texting and data and digital and door-to-door really matter. I can help you find the voters who are actually going to vote for you. You don't have to worry about talking to the ardent Democrat. In some cases, you might end up talking to them, but not in a major way. Not in the same way that if you just go knock on every door or you text everybody in the district or all that kind of stuff. You're actually saving money, and you're talking to the voters that are your voters, not the other side's voters, specifically especially when you're talking in primaries. Now we expand that a little bit in a general election, but today we're talking about primaries. It's critical that you know who you're talking to and know that they are your voters. And I can show you many ways to do that. Do I have the ability to share my screen here?
Yeah, I'll give it to you.
Okay. Let's So let's pull up. I'm going to show you guys So what I have pulled up here is what we call GOP data center, right? I just kind of have random stuff pulled up. So nothing. These are the universes that we typically use, but you can find your legislative districts. You can do all sorts of different things. You can go to different legislative districts. You can go into Senate districts. Sorry, this is not scrolling up here. You can just do it by county. You can even go down to the census block level, which in some cases, that's how we do a lot of the school board stuff. Most school boards do not report back to their Secretary of State's office. It's a different type of election. So you have to kind of go in and custom draw the maps and that kind of stuff. So you do it at the census block level. But this tool, in some way, shape, or form, is open to everybody. Some states don't use GOP data center. They use something called, now I'm blanking on it, and my buddy is the founder of it. But it's a very similar software system that allows you to go in and pull lists and save those lists and move them so that you know the voters you're targeting. And then on the other side of it, in Montana, for sure, we have it's called Campaign Sidekick, which I think you guys are probably familiar with. Give me 1 second. I got to log into my account, which takes me a second.
While you're doing that, Rod, did you have a question while Sam's on those pages?
Yeah, I did. While you're looking that up, Sam, my question is, do you have the ability? I know that it's difficult because there are school districts, there are city council wards, and then there are precincts, and they can all be different, although they all sit within the same territory, but they can all have different boundaries. Do you have a way to distinguish that so you can target people for those different offices?
So yeah, that's where I was going to get to is the front end software. It's just something called Campaign Sidekick here. You can choose. Let me pull up here. Sorry, I forgot to share my screen here. So you can pull this up and you can draw custom geographies. Once it loads. But what you can do is you can go down, like you can pull at the county level if you know where you're at and which parts of precincts and whatnot. It's a little bit tougher in some of the down ballot races, like the school board stuff, just because school board elections are a very different model. Like I said, most of them don't report to the Secretary of State's office. So the shape files that we get on the data side come from the Secretary, or we get the Secretary of State's shape files given to us as part, like we buy them, but you can draw custom geographies with front end system there on Campaign Side, which is how it was helping a couple of school board candidates out down in the Bozeman area. That's how we did theirs. We drew the custom geographies. I knew the state leg districts and state senate districts and stuff, and parts of it that we drew in to be able to draw the right district for them. But you go down here and you can do the same things down here with your tags, and then you go down here and this is where you can draw the geographies, whether it's freehand or with a box or however you would like to do it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah. And that's, again, like all this is all the tools in the arsenal, and those tools are free of charge. As I said, like the state party it provides them to you. All you have to do is ask. Thankfully I have a kind of a back end system to it just because I have a bunch of clearances, but yeah, you can almost everybody, actually everybody, if you're running as a Republican or you've signed the data sharing agreement that you'll use Republican data, has access to it. Most state parties have a little bit of a screener. They don't want to use it, give it to Dems, but not to be cocky, if we gave that data to Dems, I'm not sure they'd know what to do with it. I think that's kind of my beginning here. No, I'm probably a little short of the 20 minutes, but I'll turn it over to you guys for some Q&A and see what I can do to answer stuff for you. I apologize if I take a couple bites of food. I'm starving here.
Yeah, Sam, no problem. And thank you for the insights. And by the way, we appreciate you being here and bringing some value to the table. We know that you're in the business of helping others, and that is your business. So no offense there. And you're here to toot your own horn and let us know what resources you're going to bring to the table. I've got a few questions, and I see Rod's got his hand up. So I'll let Rod go ahead because I wrote mine down. So go ahead, Rod.
I wrote mine down too, Jim. Thanks. So my first question is, you're operating with the GOP systems and specifically the Montana GOP, but do you operate outside of Montana as well?
Yeah, I have. So I have clients in Colorado, Wyoming, do some stuff in Washington State. Hopefully have something in New Hampshire as well, but I operate all over the place. I have the same the system is kind of plug and play, right? The way the data sharing agreements work with state parties and the RNC. I can kind of see everybody's. It's just the front end system that they use is sometimes different.
Okay. Second question, when it comes to the texting itself, and are you seeing a difference between a push message or digital ads? This is a two-part question. And secondly, is there any way of tracking your responders? I mean, are there more Gen Xers, millennials, or boomers likely to respond to either of those sources?
So the hard thing about it is, right, is our base of support is probably more boomer and I guess Gen X and a little bit millennial than anything. So just the universes we're hitting are significantly older than the general response rate, right?
Sure.
Facebook ads specifically skew to an older audience. If you're talking about Instagram, digital placement on Instagram, that kind of stuff, you're talking younger audience, Snapchat, talking a younger audience. Typically, I would not advise a state rep campaign to do Instagram or Snapchat ads. It's not really cost effective. You're not hitting your right audience. You want a more knowledgeable voter, right? And that's where you're going to find that on Facebook, which may sound like an oxymoron, but it is true.
No, I get it. Thanks.
Sam, I want to flesh that out a little bit, by the way, because, most often in our group, we see people that have never ran for office and they're looking to fill the void, right? They've started with nothing, so they're looking to fill the void. Now, our advice is that they at least build out a website so they have a home base for these things. But you said something interesting about Instagram. And a lot of people feel like they need to have an Instagram account. And I think if you've got everything else, that's not a bad idea. But to your point, it's not your first solution. And if your monies are tight, don't hire somebody to do just Instagram where there's better use of your money, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think, and I just talked to a candidate about this earlier who's running a little bit larger scale of a race, but your Instagram, most people don't go to Instagram for news or politics as it is, right? It's the system. Whereas Facebook, Twitter, those two things are more set up for that. Obviously, Twitter's a little different now. Who knows what Elon's going to do, but you can't technically pay to advertise politically on Twitter anymore, which I think was a very poor move for their bottom line, but I get what they were trying to do. But Facebook ads, targeted to certain areas, targeted to neighborhoods, like you can do that kind of stuff very easily. And it's so cost effective that like hiring somebody to run an Instagram account and put up Instagram ads would just, especially in races with such finite resources, is such a waste. I mean, in some cases, there's multi-million-dollar U.S. Senate and gubernatorial candidates that don't use Instagram in any way, shape, or form politically, right? I think we moved Senator Daines to a political Instagram account midway through last cycle, just because we had a bunch of cool pictures we wanted to post. It wasn't because we were actually trying to use it to like move a lot of needles at the end of the day.
Right.
It is effective if you have like an outside organization that might want to support you that you don't know about. Like they can go on your public Instagram and pull pictures off of it and use that kind of stuff. But it's such a small scale thing when it comes to running these smaller races that it doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah. In your opinion, and I know you offer a variety of resources, in your opinion, what are the must-haves? I mean, I think that the text message ability to campaign is a great add-on and maybe, kind of a founding element to a campaign. But what do you think are the must-haves?
You've got to have a website, which in turn, you got to have a logo in some way, shape, or form. But I think this is the biggest one, and this is where a lot of people miss. You've got to have a story. You've got to have a reason. When someone asks you, and I ask candidates this all the time and say, hey, I'm going to run for office. I want to do this. And I say, well, like, why are you running for office? And more than 80% of them response is like, well, because someone told me I'd be good at it. Like, you'll never be good at running for office if you don't actually believe that you're going to be good at it. the best candidates are people who put together a story and a reason of why they're doing it, right? And without that story, your palm cards, your mail, your texting, your website do not matter. So I think the biggest thing I would advise candidates up front and work with people on this, and I think you guys do it at 1776 pretty well, is work with people to develop that message and why it is. Like, even the guy who says, because my friends told me I should do this, still has a reason why they're doing it. They're just unsure of it. And talk to people about it. Talk to people like me. Talk to people like your colleagues or those friends that asked you to run for office. Like, bounce those ideas off of them to create something that can create what I like to say movement type candidates. A movement candidate can be as small as a school board race or as small as a this will kind of make you laugh, but as small as the homeowners association president's race, right? To the guy running for the highest office in the land, like Donald Trump. Donald Trump was a movement candidate, right? At the end of the day, there is a true movement behind him, and you can create that movement at a smaller level by just developing your message properly.
Great. Well, I appreciate that, because again, we get a lot of people that have zero experience jumping into the race, into a race, right? And they don't even know where to begin at. And I think that's great advice. Question for you, and this is a little bit off topic of resources, but I think it's going to come back to resources. And that is what to expect, not really in the primaries because they're right around the corner, but really what to expect in the generals. And the reason why I think this is an important question, especially as it relates to tools that are available, is if conservatives think that the left is just going to move aside and let us turn red in 2022, I think they have another thing coming. And just looking at this local school board race here in Montana, for one political action committee to have $90,000 to allocate towards school board races is a huge, unprecedented amount of money, in my opinion. I can only imagine what that's going to look like as it relates to other races. So what do you think we should expect? You probably agree with me. I see you shaking your head. I'm buying you a minute to get a bite in. But, I'd like to hear it from your perspective, because you've worked on a lot of campaigns and you've seen this before. I don't think we should be arrogant about it.
No, not at all. I mean, I've worked in the best years possible. In 2014, I'll probably never have a better year than 2014. We have nationwide better than 2014 was. 2020 in Montana was a banner year. The Democrats are on the run there. And to be honest, it's a state where they shouldn't be on the run. And they never believed that Republicans were going to out-organize them, have the resources to compete, and then stare them in the face and be like, look, we can get our message out better. I remember post-election day talking to a Democrat operative that I'm friends with in the state, who we were tweeting and putting press releases out about how many doors our state reps had knocked, or how many doors statewide, or how many phone calls we made. And they all laughed. They're like, oh, they're making that number up. Like, they're trying to scare us. And then come to find out, they were caught basically with their pants down. Like, they started knocking doors really late in the cycle. And like, we had been at people's doors 7 and 8 times by the time they got there once. And people were like, oh, sorry, our mind's made up. They're going to come back with a vengeance. They're going to put field organizers and field directors on the ground early. They always have Senator Tester funnels a lot of money into the state party there to make sure he's always around. The Bullet campaign had a lot of money left over. They turned over to the state party. And they feel like they have a shot to win a federal race in Montana this year in the 2nd congressional district. And what that's going to do is it trickles down. Like, that money trickles down to the state rep level, to the state senate level, and it's going to be resourced up. And they have the one thing that they have done better than us for years, and they still do, and we're building this operation out nationally, is they have digitally fundraised better than anybody in this world. They have a reoccurring donor base of $5 and $10 donors like nobody's ever seen. We're building it up now, thankfully, but that reoccurring donor base doesn't go away. And they bundle money and they send money to this state rep candidate. And then once they're maxed out there, they send that $5 to this one and this one and this one. And it's all over the place. So to expect that Act Blue and the Dems and the Montana Dems are just going to go away and not have anything is very unrealistic. I mean, look, they'll struggle to raise money a little bit because they're so far in the minority that right now, but there are easy pick-off seats for them that they look at. They go, we can win that seat easily. With a little bit of work here, a little bit of work there, they claws their way back. And what could be a banner year turns into us losing seats because our candidates aren't raising money and spending it correctly. They're sitting at home going, it's 2022, everybody's going to win.
Yeah, and that's what I'm afraid of. So let me ask the second question to that is, where should conservatives be spending their money? Let's look past the primaries in the next 30 days. Let's say our candidates win. Where should we be spending money to combat what the left is doing?
Yeah, I think whether you're a candidate level or a donor level, right, or that small dollar level, it's all got to be targeted. Not that the guy who's in a plus 60 Republican seat doesn't have a race, but like you probably don't have to send him $5. Like if you're on the donor side and you have finite resources, you should be getting the races that are very close. I mean, there's a lot of races in Great Falls that are close. There's races in Missoula that are close. There's races up there, and Billings, right? Like those are where we need to target our giving. And on the candidate side, you have to target your spending and you have to spend properly. I don't know how many candidates I've talked to across every state that go, oh, well, I send 2 mailers and it goes to everybody in the district. It's like, you could send 5 mailers to voters who actually are movable or that you've talked to and like, you know that they're undecided on you for the same cost as those 2 mailers to everybody. So, and it's targeting everything. It's targeting your dial or your phone calls. It's targeting your doors with your finite time when you're going to knock doors and turn out voters or to ID voters. It's targeting your text messaging and it's targeting your mail and your digital ads. Don't just blanket people because you feel like you can and you have the money. Campaign that has money left at the end has money left to turn out voters, right? Like you can always find a way in the last weekend for in-person voting to use the little bit of money you have left to turn out more voters and keep cranking it out. Don't just spend because it's the way you've done it forever. Or someone told you that you should just mail everybody because every vote's winnable. I hate to tell everyone here, not every vote's winnable. My vote's not winnable. Your vote's probably not winnable for a Democrat. And there's people just like us on the other side, right? And in every district. So stop trying. Try and win the votes that you can win and show that you care about them by spending properly and targeting your spending.
Great. Sam, just looking at archaic ways of campaigning, what are some activities that people are doing you still see that they should not be doing anymore or do a heck of a lot less of?
It's a tough question because I think the biggest thing is, and this is, believe me, I want everyone to knock doors, but people are so afraid of using data to knock doors that they get themselves in this trap of running an archaic campaign of like, I need to talk to everybody. I need to register everybody. I need to do this. It's like, don't be afraid of using the resources ahead of you. I think the most archaic thing is like, people think when they see RNC data or MTGOP data, they think it is only meant to be used, or California GOP or Colorado or New Hampshire, whatever GOP it is data, right? They go, oh, that's just for the federal guys, or that's just for the guy running for governor. Like they don't know my districts. Like they don't know my district like I do. Like, you're right. I haven't been in all 100 House districts in Montana. I've actually probably been close to all of them, but I can look at the data and pretty much tell you what most of those districts look like. I can tell you the demographics of them. I can tell you the median income. I can tell you what the mass majority of people subscribe to as magazines, whether they have hunting or fishing license, all of those things. That's going to develop our voter profile. I can also tell you if they've given to a Democrat or they have a John Tester bumper sticker, all of those things. All of those things are in our warehouse. So using them is the most important thing. I think, like I said, the most archaic thing I see is being afraid to use data and thinking that just because something has a big label on it doesn't mean they don't understand the micro level of it.
Got it. Rod's got a question for you. Go ahead, Rod.
Yeah, thanks. So my next question is, when you're sending out the text messages, is there the ability for them to be interactive? In other words, to go to your website and donate, or to respond to you if they want to volunteer? And also, is there a way to track that, their response rate? And then I'm going to go back. I'm circling back. Okay. I'm going to circle back to the digital ads or the interactive ads. Again, is, based on the demographic you said that's using these, should it be a combination of both, or would you favor one over the other?
So yes, everything can be interactive. In some cases, I'll use this in races for a lot of ID work. You send a text message, you give them the push message of why your candidate, why candidate X or candidate Y should be voted for. And then you ask them, can I count on your support? Click 1 for yes, click 2 for no, click 3 for undecided. Or very simply of like, just did this, or just put one in the queue for a candidate that's going out next week. It's his push message, and then it's got a video attached to the push message that you click the link and you can learn more and watch the video, and it takes you to his video. All of those things create interactivity that once you ask somebody to do one thing, it's easier to get them to do the other, right? Like if someone clicks the link, it's easier to get them to vote for you because they want to learn more about you. It means they're open to voting for you. On the digital side, it's a mix, right? I mean, you're always hoping that someone clicks on the ad, whether it just takes you to a website, whether it takes you to a video, whether it takes you to whatever. But also just the ability to like see name, logo is association in its own right. It's a touch to a voter that you otherwise wouldn't have had. So the effectiveness of that, like whether they click or not on a digital ad, is not necessarily as easily like judged. Same with the text, right? Like I get texts all the time from candidates. Like I'll look at it and go, oh, like I didn't click on the link or whatever, just because sometimes I don't want I don't want people knowing I clicked on the link, but I'll go in and I'll look at my computer another way or something like that. So yes, you can tell on the back end how many people click, like click rates, all that kind of stuff. Does it necessarily judge the effectiveness of the ad? Not necessarily. That kind of answers the question.
Sam, I want to shift gears a little bit. You mentioned Facebook ads a little while ago. And I know that a lot of our candidates have Facebook pages already. Do you and your services have the opportunity to help facilitate running a Facebook ad campaign for the candidates or people that we're helping? Because it's a little bit daunting to figure out, okay, how do I run Facebook ads? How do I target, certain areas and all these things that you talked about? So do you guys offer that? And if you do, how does that look and how does that work?
Yeah, we do. It kind of depends, like pricing structure wise, depends on how much we're doing. Like I take a percentage of whatever the amount of stuff you're buying. So standard is if you're buying 100, just think of it on macro level, like $100, $10 it's probably going to me.
Yeah.
But $90 is going to the ad. And when I say $10 is going to me, it's going to me and 3 other people that are probably developing the ad and then placing the ad and doing the targeting. So don't think that I'm making $10 on every $100. It's very much not the case.
I wish you were, because we want you to be around and be successful. But I guess my biggest concern is the unknown, right? Like I've got a Facebook page and I'm proud of it. And we're posting up our meet and greets and our mission and our story. But we realize that somewhere the rubber's got to hit the road to get some people to vote through looking at our page and having the ability to target that. So based on what you just said, I realize you guys do that, but you guys create the ad, you generate the target and kind of give us advice.
So Facebook has made it more broad-based. Middle of last election cycle, they started to do this. But for example, a big thing I like to do, like working with a candidate in Colorado right now, their primary coming up at the end of June. It's a very contested primary. What we'll do is he has a paid door firm knocking doors for him. So every day I'll get where his people are knocking doors, and we'll take that and we'll geofence that neighborhood for 2 days with pictures of people out knocking doors and a message from Hugh. Sometimes it's a video, sometimes it's other things, but like, excuse me, different things that are going to that neighborhood that are specifically about knocking doors, or a message. Like if we keep seeing a response that comes out of that neighborhood that's like, I really care about this, like we're going to develop something that's going to be shown to, maybe not everybody in that neighborhood cares about it, but the 20% of people who answered their door did. So, or 18 to the 20% of the people who answered their door did. So we're gonna hit that neighbor because it clearly resonates. They're talking to their neighbors, or doing those different things. So yeah, it unfortunately used to be able to target Facebook down to the voter, which they've changed. But again, the cost benefit on a Facebook ad is so high that it's incredible. Like, even sending them to broad-based targeting is pretty effective, especially for click rates and other things.
Yeah. Well, something that we haven't talked about yet, at least from our perspective on the conservative side, is the ability to raise money and how to effectively raise money. I think a lot of us have done our little meet and greets, and, some people just hand out envelopes and hope that they'll come back with something in them. But do you have some tools or resources to offer to candidates to help them raise money, or some suggestions?
I do. I'm sorry. I just put something in my mouth.
I know. I'm trying to drag it out for you there, buddy. And by the way, when I say that, like, I know Braxton Mitchell's pretty effective at raising money through Facebook ads. Instead of trying to get voters, he's pushing Facebook to raise money.
Yes. So there's always right, if they click on the link, it should take you to a donation page, right? Like that should be the first place it takes you. Sometimes too with texting too is the same way. Like you can put a push message in it with a link, and it can be a link to their WinRed or to their Anodot account to donate. I always tell candidates this: if people ask you to run for office, they should be the first people you ask for money, because they are the ones who are going to say yes. It's funny, I was talking to a school board candidate in Bozeman, and she's like, I don't know if I can raise that much money. I don't know. It's like, well, just ask your friend, ask your friends and family. Like every $5 or $10 or $100 matters.
Yeah.
And if you're doing a meet and greet, or you're showing up to a local Republican event, and you get to give your pitch, ask for the money. Your pitch should always close with, and I need your help and support running for office. If you can't give me money, then I need your help volunteering. But any amount of money matters in these races. $5 goes a long way when something costs 13 cents, right?
Yeah.
So it's always asking, and your first people you should ask, and I know this sounds super frustrating, but are your friends and your family. Those are the first two groups of people you should ask. And then after that, you can go to, if there's standard, or there's candidates who don't have primaries or whatever, ask them for help from their campaign accounts, those kind of things, and have them dole it out. But your friends and your family should come first. And then digitally, almost everything should just be in some way, shape, or form, you're clicking on something. Even if it's a click to learn more about me, there should be a donation link at the bottom of the learn more about me page.
Yeah, absolutely. My last question, if anybody in the group's got a question for Sam, please have it ready, because we'll start to wrap this up. You mentioned the campaign sidekick, which I have on my phone, by the way, and I've looked at that as a tool. The GOP does have a lot of tools, and they are readily available. And I'm glad you brought that up. Is there any other tools out there that people may not be aware of that are just lingering and could be picked up and grabbed if they need it?
Another big resource for candidates that people aren't aware of, especially say Montana, the program's a lot smaller this year, but there is staff on the grounds, and their job is to elect Republicans up and down the ballot. Ask them questions, ask them to train you on things. If they're not effective in that, Campaign Sidekick has its own whole college system that's free online that you can go on. You can watch the videos. You can do all sorts of different stuff with them. it's just taking advantage of and asking questions is a really big thing. I know one of the ways I kind of got ahead in this business was like, I really got close everywhere I worked with state rep candidates. It was fun for me. I love down ballot politics. I think it's fun. And it also makes a huge difference in people's day-to-day lives. And in a shocking manner, most people think Congress affects their day-to-day life. Like, talk to your state rep. Like, every law that they've passed legitimately changes your life in some way, shape, or form. So like, the staff that's out there at the state party, and using the resources that are like combined resources from the state party in the RNC are big ones, and that's where Sidekick and data center and those things come into play.
Great. Sam, I want to thank you, and I'm going to wrap it up if you don't mind hanging out for another second. Did you have any closing thoughts before I wrap?
No, I think you answered all my questions, and I really appreciate it. I took a whole page full of notes, so you can always learn something. Thank you so much, Sam.
Great. Thanks, Rod.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Hey, just as a reminder of what the intent and purpose of the 1776, again, how I opened up the call, is we want to provide people tools to go out and win elections, right? We are, in a sense, a little bit strategists, but really we rely on people like Sam and other people that we've met along the road to utilize their services and expand our roster of network, right? And so, Sam, I'm so appreciative that you're here tonight to talk about the things that you can specifically do, because if you correlate what you do to the campaign guide that you can download from our website, the 1776syndicate.com, within that guide, we talk about building your story out as Sam has suggested, but there's a whole list of things that we suggest that you put into your campaign. And by the way, text message strategy is not in there, which I will be adding to it. You've got all this list of items, and we do have a network like My Campaign Online to help build out websites. But the things that Sam does are very specific and targeted and of incredible value that we haven't been able to offer before. So Sam Robino with Field and Streets Political Strategy, please reach out to him. If you don't know how to get a hold of him, I'll make sure that his website and his contact is on the 1776 Syndicate. So Sam, I want to leave you with a sincere gratitude for your time and energy, what you're doing for our party. And if we can do anything to help you out, we'll send everybody your way that we can. But thanks for being on the call tonight.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you guys having me. I think the little bit of the defense of my business and consultants as a whole, we're looked at as these evil people that aren't really in it for the ideological reasons and everything else. I can guarantee you that every candidate I've worked with and the party as a whole, I am ideologically with you. This just happens to be what I've chosen to do as a career, but it's my honor to help get people elected. There is nothing cooler than being on election night with a candidate who is in a tough race and watching them win and getting to celebrate that victory with them. The victory is, not to steal their thunder, but this is as much mine as it is theirs, because look, I care, I put in the work. So I really appreciate you allowing me to come on this call and do a little bit of pitching and give a little bit of background on how I can help these guys.
Yeah, thank you. Well, in closing tonight, as we talked about earlier in the call, it doesn't matter what you're running for, even if it's for that HOA president job. And by the way, Sam, I am the HOA president over here and I had to run for it.
I'm sorry.
Trust me, you need to be. It's not a fun job. But if you're running for an elected position, especially this year, they're not going to give it to you. All right. So if you've got candidates you're running against, you've got less than 30 days now for the primaries. I know we have a couple people on this call that are in primaries right now. Please continue to fight, dig deep, get out there, knock on the doors, utilize any services you can, whether those are Sam's or somebody's else's, but don't give up. Fight that fight. You can't be in the generals if you don't win the primaries. So you're on the home stretch for that. If you make it past the primaries, it's time to reset, get through the summer, build your momentum into the general. Again, looking for tools, raising money. We need you out there. And if you think that the left is going to give these seats to you just because we think there's another red wave, you got another thing coming. I've already seen it in the school boards. they're coming hard and furious, and they're pissed that we stole some things away from them last year. So anyways, want to close out tonight. Thank you for being involved. Next week, we've got Dr. Dave Ingram talking about the woke culture from his perspective. And we know Dave has had a severe amount of crap thrown at him. So look forward to hearing from you, Dave. Thank you, everybody, for being on the call tonight.
Thank you all.